Hey, all right. Good morning, people. Uh, Welcome back to online construction. I know it's tons of fun and super enthralling, but soon enough, you guys will be in class. So today we are going to be painting this activity center for my boy. And this is the one we were working on yesterday. We sanded it up and we took a lot of those rough, sharp edges off, and we kind of made sure it was nice and safe for my toddler to crawl around on, especially when he's up working with us in the kitchen. Uh, there's enough dangerous things in the house, especially in the kitchen, that a toddler can get a hold of. I don't want to have to worry about his little standing platform as well. So what I've done is yesterday we saw I sanded down all the rough spots of corners, made it nice and safe. Today, what we're going to be doing is a couple of the final stages of preparation for paint, and we're going to paint this. So we're going to go through a few different things. So firstly, since I sanded this yesterday, let's do this. All. Okay, I just muted everyone, so hopefully that works. Okay, so what we're going to do is we are going to firstly take some compressed air, and we're going to blow all the dust and dirt off of this. I'm not working in the wood shop today because in the wood shop we got lots of cutting going on, and there is a bunch of dust flying around in the air. Even if I turned on the filters, dust would still land, sawdust would still land on this and stick to the paint, resulting in not a very nice paint job. So in the fabrication shop, we don't have a whole lot of air moving through here. I don't have the extractors on. We're not opening and closing a bunch of doors. So that's going to give us a more controlled, stable environment to do some painting in. Normally, I would like to paint this in a sealed kind of room, maybe a specific painting room or a finishing room, but ours right now is full of a bunch of projects, and we've moved those out of the way. So we are going to work in here today. So what I have, a little air wand. We're going to hook this up to an air gun and blow this all off. But when using compressed air, we're going to wear safety glasses. So safety glasses are right here. Put those on. Got my air hose here. I'm going to connect that up. And hopefully this doesn't blow out the mic. All right, so we're done with that. What we're going to do now, since I want to paint all sides includes the bottom, the underside here. So there's something we need to do to the bottom of this. So if I paint that bottom and then stand it up to paint the rest of it, that bottom is going to stick to this cardboard I have on the table here. This cardboard is to stop the paint from getting on the table. So there's a little trick that we do. And that trick involves a hammer and 4 of those guys, little finishing nail. So I'm going to nail this into the bottom of this right here. I'm going to put one here, 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 and here. And these are going to act like little feet that keep this from sitting directly on the table. So I'm going to leave about 1/2 inch of this exposed, going to put about 1/2 of this into the bottom of it. And when I paint the bottom, I can then stand it up, and the platform will stand on these 4 little nails, allowing air to get underneath the bottom and dry it. And then when I'm done, I just pull these 4 little nails out and we're good to go. So let's put those in right now. I'm gonna put them right here in these legs. Just gonna tap them in slightly. Got 1. 2, and just remember, we're not fastening this together. These are just simply to go in, to stand it up off the table. We want to be able to take them out afterwards so we don't bury them all the way down. In our finishing room, we use a similar tool to this, except I call it a nail board. And it's a board with a whole bunch of nails on that you set your project on to dry so air can get around it. Similar idea. For this. So I've got these 4 nails in. After all, was the lower platform glued to the stand? Yes, it was. It was glued to the stand. I didn't end up breaking it though, so I'm gonna go get that platform and we're gonna talk about that for a quick second. So there's that lower platform. And what I ended up doing is it was glued. And tipping on an angle like this, you can see there's some rough spots here and here. That's where the glue was. Now I need to scrape that glue off still, but there was a small nail back here, small nail here, small nail here, small nail down here, and some glue in 3 different spots. So what I did is I took a block of wood and a mallet and actually hit it right where the nails were and the glue joints were, and I broke the glue joints because there wasn't a whole lot of glue. If there would have been a bunch of glue on it, this would have broken right in half. But we got pretty lucky. I was able to save it. It's one piece. This is a piece that came off, and that way I don't have to recreate a piece. So pretty fortunate in that aspect. But yeah, we'll stain this in a couple days. So we're gonna work on this base a little more. All right, so when it comes to painting, a lot of us have an idea how to paint. It is fairly easy, but different paints, different products require different preparation and different application methods. So what I recommend doing and what we're gonna do is we're gonna grab our paint. And we're gonna read the manufacturer's label. So the manufacturer's label is gonna be on the side of the jar. I can see right here, Valspar door and trim. It says, oh, it's flammable. It's tintable to 1,000 colors. They do all their advertising on the front. But the important thing is looking at the directions. Now they've printed these super, super tiny, but we're gonna read these and we're gonna look. It says, firstly, it recommends where to use it. So right here it says use on bare wood, wood previously painted wood, or metal in sound condition or properly prepared laminate. So obviously if we're working with laminate or wood or metal, you have to prepare it the right way, make sure it's good, it's clean, just like we've done with this material here. Now we're gonna read the next step. It says drying time, blah, blah, application is what we want. So we're gonna look off that. It says stir paint thoroughly, intermix containers for uniform color. So if you have multiple containers, they might be tinted differently. So what they recommend is you take all your containers, say you have 3, you mix them all together, and then you put them back in these containers. That way, if there is a slight difference from one container to the next, it all looks the same. So that's a really good tip and something that I wouldn't have told you unless I read this. That's why reading this is important. So, apply with a premium quality roller or polyester brush. I've got a polyester brush. Note, 2 thin coats are required for bare wood, so we're going to do that. And some deep and bright colors may require additional coat to obtain complete hide. So when they talk about hide, they just want to cover the grain. So some of these wood, you do 1 coat, the grain will show through. 2 coats is going to cover all of it and just give you that nice, uniform, perfect looking surface. It says surface conditions and application technique can also impact coverage. Allow to dry thoroughly before recoating or use. All right, so that's good. Pretty simple. Sounds like we're just gonna mix it up, make sure it's good. We're gonna paint it on. Another one here, gosh, that's washed out, is cleanup or disposal. So we wanna look at that as well because we have to clean this up. And it's easier to look at this now than when we got, say, paint on our hands and paint all over the can, stuff like that. So we're gonna read that as well. So clean up with soap and water. Do not freeze. Keep container closed when not in use. Do not transfer to other containers for storage or disposal. In case of spillage, absorb with inert material. Dispose of container and or unused contents in accordance with local, municipal, or provincial regulations. So we have paint disposal here in Calgary. There are specific places that take it. Some of the landfills do. You have to take paint to a paint section, and then it gets dealt with from there. So this sounds pretty easy to use. This is awesome. The big thing about this is whenever you get a can of something, you know, it could be this door and trim stuff here. It could be gel stain. It could be finishing paste wax, any of it. Even things like Danish oil. They're all gonna have information on the side of it. So always check the container for application, safety precautions, disposal, cleanup. This is your best friend when it comes to this stuff. You don't just want to go at it and realize you put it all on wrong and have your project get ruined because of the finish. It would really suck to mess this up because we applied finish wrong. So I always read the labels before applying anything. All right, so I've got this brush here. I'm going to get this set up. It's brand new, nice nylon brush. Cool thing about these is we don't have to wash it out after every use. I know I'm going to be using this for this project. So what I'm going to do is this project's going to take 2 coats. After the first coat, what you can do is this brush will be full of paint. Normally, we would wash it out, and the instructions said to wash out with soap and water. So that's what we would do normally. If I was going to put this away for a long time and then reuse it, that's what I would do. But since I'm going to be putting a second coat on this tomorrow, what I'm going to do is a little bit of a secret as far as construction goes. There is a way to save these brushes without having to wash them out. And what we do with these brushes is we run as much of the paint out of it as we can when we are done using it. So we don't want this dripping, but obviously there's going to be paint in the bristles. You'll see paint all around it. We can wrap this up in plastic. So if you have saran wrap, a sandwich bag, a shopping bag, anything like that, we wrap it around the end of this. We wrap it tight and we squeeze all that air out. So it's just plastic directly up against the bristles. So what that does is that prevents air from going into the paint, and air is part of the chemical reaction. The paint drying, no air, it can't dry, right? So that is something that's awesome. So we wrap that up nice and tight, and then to further help that, what I do is I store this in a cool place. So I actually wrap these up nice and tight, and I put them in my fridge. It sounds silly, but it works. So I've done a lot of house renovations this last summer because I sold my other place and I painted the whole exterior, interior, everything, all the trims. And there was one drawer in my fridge, in my crisper, my vegetable drawer. I had 5 different brushes all wrapped up in there for 5 different things. And every time, pull it out, unwrap it, dip it in the paint, keep on going. It would never harden up as long as you make sure you get all that air out from around the bristles, wrapped up in the plastic, and kept it in a cool place. So that's a little tip if you're painting things from one day to the next. If it's going to be 2 months, I wouldn't store it for 2 months. I would wash it out. But you just, I'm coming back tomorrow. I'm going to put a second coat on this. Then just do it with, just wrap it up. Saves you some time, saves you some cleanup. Then we just wash it up nice at the end and store it away. So let's get to some painting here. Right, yeah, screwdriver. Now, I always talk to you guys about using the proper tool for the job. Screwdriver is technically not the proper tool to open a can of paint, but I can tell you more cans of paint have been opened in the world with a flathead screwdriver than a proper paint can opening tool. So if you have a proper paint can opening tool, definitely use that, but flathead screwdriver is going to work as well. So you always want to mix the paint as well. So I've got a nice little clean piece of wood here. Gonna start mixing up the paint here. And it's a thick paint. So I'm gonna mix it up well. I'm trying to use up the end of the bottom of this can before I start a new can. But I don't know if I like the consistency of it. So I may actually just dispose of this can and open up a new one. In fact, that's what I'm gonna do. I don't like the way this is. As we can see, we got some clumpage, and that is not gonna be what we want. We want that nice paint. So we're gonna we're gonna close this can up, set it aside, and then I will open up the second can. So it's always good to use up cans entirely. This one wasn't used up entirely. I was hoping to be able to use it today. Not so much, but that's why I've got another can. Already, I can tell the consistency in this is much nicer. This is what we want. So I got to mix it up a little bit here. I'm shaking it up a bunch beforehand. But what we're going to do is just make sure it's nice and mixed. That way, got good, even consistency with the paint. And I got no issues with my paint job afterwards. Okay, so that's looking pretty good. So what we're gonna do is we're gonna start with the bottom here, paint all the bottom, gonna stand it up. I'm gonna start painting from probably the insides, get the hard stuff done, and then the outsides are the easiest. So that's why I leave those till last. And when we paint, we're gonna paint with the grain. So however the lines on your wood go, is how we're gonna paint. So when this is standing up like this, the grain on these pieces is gonna run up and down. Here, it's gonna go crossways, and here is gonna go crossways as well. So we're gonna paint with the direction of the grain. So we're gonna lay this down, get this end taken care of. Start here. Don't want to load the brush up too heavy. We don't want a ton of paint on here, but we want a good amount. And already I can see this is for sure going to take 2 coats. There. Start with the inside of a lot of these. It's always best to do the hard parts first. Firstly, because you have more motivation. And secondly, you're going to get yourself covered in paint going back to those hard spots after you painted the outside. So I don't want to be reaching into the middle of this when the outside's all wet. So I paint the inside first. And that gives us a little nicer result. Painting isn't hard, but it's tough to do nicely. So I don't have a whole lot of patience for painting, but on a project like this that I know is going to be in my home, I'm going to take the time and do it right. And the corners, we got to be careful too. Sometimes we get drips and runs in the corners, so we got to make sure that we get all of that taken care of. If you want to wear gloves, you can. I definitely would if you don't like getting your hands dirty. If you are maybe reactive or sensitive to certain chemical substances. I am pretty tolerant of chemicals, well, light chemicals. Anyways, as far as hands and stuff, they don't really irritate me. So I never really wear gloves when painting, but certain finishes, oil-based finishes, stuff like that, I definitely wear gloves. I don't like the stuff on my hands. It's gross, just doesn't feel good, and plus it's hard to grip the brush properly if you got really, you know, a lot of stuff on your hands. So I always like to go back around, make sure everything is good. This bottom looking pretty darn decent. Now what we'll do is we'll stand this baby up and start working on the other hard stuff. So I think we're going to stand this up here. Turn it sideways. Oh, also, pro tip, wear clothes you don't want to get paint on. Like I can paint fairly clean, but I am completely okay getting paint on either this, the shirt, or my pants. Doesn't really bother me. But, you know, I just want to keep our nice stuff nice. I always keep my sleeves rolled up, just keep them out of the way. All right, let's get back to it. So I'm going to paint the insides of these outside rails here. I want to get all the inside done. I'll put it on fairly thick, not super heavy, but enough to definitely get into the pores of the wood. That way, the first coat is kind of like the sealing coat. The second coat is going to be the finished coat. That's how a lot of this stuff works. First coat just is coverage. and gets it ready to take the second coat on quite nicely. First coat often, it looks good going on. After it's dry, you look at it and you're like, ah, it looks like butt. It's just no good. So what I like to do is I don't judge myself after the first coat. The second coat is where I start to do the critical thinking and the judging. So, yeah. A lot of us get really quick to judge ourselves on the work we've done right away, and I don't do that because some of these processes take time and results are never instantaneous. Biggest thing is have fun while doing it. Throw on some tunes, throw on a podcast in the background, whatever you listen to. I'm listening to a lot of space and cosmology and particle physics, quantum mechanics, a bunch of cool stuff like that. Quite interesting. So I often, when I'm doing stuff like this, I'll throw on something that I like to listen to and get into it. So, yeah. So I'm not going to show you guys the second coat when I do the second coat tomorrow, because really you guys don't need to watch me paint for 2 days in a row. But I will show you guys the result of the second coat. So, and I will take some pictures of this too, and I will put them up on the D2L, just so you guys can see a little better as to what's going on. Because this camera, it's decent, but it's definitely not 4K quality. So this is kind of a pain in the butt part right here. I'm painting around all the little tabs that hold the standing platform. And on every paint, everything you're doing, there is going to be some parts that aren't very fun. When you're doing walls, cutting in around the edges isn't very fun. You know, being careful up around the ceiling isn't very fun if you've ever painted a wall or a room in your house. So just remember, take the time in those stages, because you're gonna thank yourself in the end when it looks good, or you're gonna curse yourself when you didn't take the time and it doesn't look as good as you would have liked. So, and I don't know if I explained why I took that bottom step off, but we're gonna be staining that. We're gonna stain it a dark brown. And it's very difficult to stain one piece and paint other pieces when they're connected. So I like to separate all the staining pieces from the painting pieces and do them separately. I think it's just a better way of working. Some people may do it differently. I personally, I'm not that great with the paintbrush. I don't trust myself enough. So I separate things that way. I can't get stain on my paint or paint on my stain. And some of you guys are probably pretty good with paintbrushes. I got art students in my class, maybe, I'm not too sure, but a lot of fun. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna just paint a couple of these outside rails here, and then I'm gonna let you guys go for the day. You don't need to watch me paint this whole thing. So we'll get a little bit on the outside done, just to get you guys to see that. Putting on a nice good coat. This wood here is raw, bare wood. So it actually sucks up a lot of paint. So we definitely are gonna be using a lot less paint on the second coat, but we want that nice good coat on the first one to make sure that we get it sealed up. And this paint's gonna prevent you know, things like jam and juice and pancake mix from getting on the wood and staining it and ruining it. This paint will wipe right off. If we get jam on it, yeah, just take a cloth, wipe it down. The paint's actually designed to be scrubbed a little bit, so it's pretty wear resistant and nice. So if you guys are doing something like this, you got a sibling maybe that you want to create something like this for in a future year or something in construction. I know in 20 level, I think you can design your own project. In 30 level, I know you can design your own project. These are quite easy to do. And a really nice little thing to give as a gift. So something to consider as well. All right, so there is going to be a quiz today, guys. The quiz is going to have 3 questions. It's not open yet. I will open it after I end this video. But very easy quiz. I've gone over the answers already. I've made sure to go over it with you. I'm not trying to stress you guys out by giving you hard work in any way, because we all have a lot of stuff that's going on. As we know, January, into January, we got some finals coming up too, right? So that's an important one. I don't want to take away too much of your study time from that. But yesterday, I made a promise to you guys. I told you I was going to find out dates as far as how much class time we have to work with. So what we have next week, 11th, 12th, 13th, 14th, and 15th, you guys are here in school. We are working in class. Then the next week, the 18th, 19th, 20th, Monday, Tuesday, class. My class, construction. We have 3 additional work days because we have moved exam days around and diploma days around as well. So that's great for you guys. If you guys get extra time to work in class, last night I packages. Now, with these packages, I have cut out the rough basic wood. It will be up to you to trace the proper template onto that piece, to cut it out, to sand it, to drill the holes, and then once your piece is done, we will set it aside, and when everyone's done the piece, we're going to assemble chairs. So as of right now, I've got 2 chairs per class to be assembled. Now, it doesn't sound like a whole lot when I got 20 people in the class, but the biggest issue we're going to run into is backlogs and jams at the tools. So things like bandsaws. I've got 2 bandsaws, right? I've got 1 jointer, I've got 2 miter saws. So that's where the bottlenecks, traffic jams are going to be. So I don't want to create 4, 6 chairs per class, because simply it's going to be a heck of a lot of room, and no one's going to have time to finish them because of the short amount of days we have to do it and the limited number of tools we have in class. So that is why we're going to be doing 2 chairs per class. So that'll be nice. It'll be a group effort. Everyone will have their piece. They can pick it out, and then they can start cutting, sanding, shaping, whatever it takes to get that piece done. You guys have seen me build a chair pretty much start to finish. So I think everyone's got a fairly good idea of the tools, how to use them, what we need to do. So that is all I pretty much have for today, folks. So one thing I need to do is drop the name in the chat. That's my attendance. So if you want to be marked present for the day, that's a good thing. Make sure that happens. And then you guys will be free to go. If you have any questions, throw them in an email, throw them in the chat. I seem to have feedback issues with this microphone, and when it's plugged in, I can't hear you guys very well. So that is what I would like from you fine folks. I will say I am super stoked to have you guys back in class next week. This, me doing whatever and talking to you guys behind the camera, not fun. I'm done with it. I'm done with Corona. I'm done with online teaching. I teach in person, and that's how you guys learn best too, I think. You guys don't get to touch, see, feel things. It isn't near as fun. You guys signed up in construction to build things, and that's what I want to do with you guys. So once your name's in, if you don't have a question, you guys can take off. So thank you guys. I really appreciate it. And you guys have yourselves a great day. Awesome. Thank you. See you. Yeah, I will open up the quiz in just a few minutes, and it will be there available for you, and it will be in the solid stock construction unit. So it'll just have January 5th or January 6th, whatever the date is today, and it'll be a 3-question quiz. It'll be true, false, and there isn't anybody that should get or shouldn't get 100%. It's an easy one. Yes, you can. Yeah, if you drop your name in the chat, what are we doing January 11th? When we come back, we're building chairs. That's what we're doing. If we haven't done our homework, we're doing our homework. If we've done our homework, we're going to build some chairs. Yeah, yeah, awesome. Cool. Thank you, everybody. I appreciate it. And I will catch you all tomorrow. We have a test. Yes, there will be a 3-question quiz. I'm going to open it up in just a few minutes. Yes, Jakob, you can go. Thank you. I will open the quiz in a couple minutes, so when I open that up, do the quiz. Yeah, awesome. Thank you, everyone, and I will see you guys tomorrow.